Hey, Craig. Hey, Menelec. Uh, I'm not sure if we'll have too many in here tonight. I may be having overkill with the amount of these that I'm having. Maybe people are getting tired of them. But I'm glad to see both you, Craig, and you, Menelec, in here. Perhaps we'll have some others join us here in a little bit. It looks like according to YouTube, there's 5 viewers, but maybe people just hadn't started chatting yet, or maybe they prefer not to chat. But I just wanted to remind everybody again where I am advertising my streams. They will be advertised on my Deadites on Deck Facebook page. They will also be on my personal page, and people that are my or are subscribers to my channel. Hey, X-Ray. I don't think we'll be talking about any Jean Rollin movies tonight, but but I hope that you enjoy the ones that we are talking about tonight. But anyway, people that have subscribed to the channel and maybe don't have a Facebook page. I think Jay was one that said he didn't really mess with Facebook. But if you're a subscriber, and I'm not saying you got to subscribe or anything, but if you're a subscriber, I believe you get notifications in your email or whatever to let you know that when I'm having a stream. Mill Lake, you say my favorite films tend to have vampires coupled with other creatures like werewolves. Um, yeah, some of those are good too, but I believe the ones I'm going to be talking about are just primarily going to be vampires. Um, Actually, you say Dana are going to bring up some weird vampire flick only 5 people watched that was filmed in 1983. Nah, I think you guys will probably be familiar with all of these, most if not all of the films I'm going to talk about tonight. And some of them you may think are a stretch as far as vampire films go. As far as classifying them, I guess as vampire films, but yeah, I should have talked about Nosferatu, but I decided to err on the side of caution, I guess, and talk about some more modern type of vampire films. Although Nosferatu is a great film, I will say that. Um, Let Me In was good, Menelect. I don't have that in my group of films. I think I have about 9 films up there, and hopefully I can maybe introduce you to some that maybe you haven't watched, or it's been a long while since you've watched them. Um, but enough about how I advertise. I've just been sharing that with people during each live stream, each of these latest live streams, just because it's kind of new with me advertising on my own page instead of um, me advertising on someone else's page. So the other links that should be in the description for this video, one is for my Morbid Beauty Boutique, my Etsy shop. There is a link for T Public. There is, I'm trying to think if there was anything else, but you guys feel free to peruse the links that I've got there, and if anything kind of piques your interest, then feel free to click on those and check some things out, because my Etsy shop, I have candles, I have stickers, I have pint glasses. So you might, find something of interest on there. And soon I will have the debut of the little Tony stickers from Blood Lake. Okay. So, with that housekeeping stuff out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and get started with these movies. Keep in mind that I keep them in alphabetical order unless they're a series, and then I start with the first one is in alphabetical order, and then I put the other ones after that one. So that's the library person in me because I before working for a bank in their IT department, I was in library. So that still has a hold on me. So I like to have things organized. So I used to have them organized by genre as well, but now they're just kind of mixed together. But they are in alphabetical order. So as I'm talking about these, keep in mind that they're going to be in alphabetical order the way I pulled them off the shelf. So, hey, Dirk. Uh, Like you said, I think the last vampire film I saw that was pure vampire was 28 Days Later. See, I never thought of 28 Days Later as a vampire film, Like, so that's really interesting. Dirk, you say, hey, Dana, we're talking vampires. Hell yeah, Salem's Lot is my number one of all time, and we are going to talk about Salem's Lot tonight, Dirk. That one is definitely uh, in my group of films over here. So, um, we got a few people in here now. I think we can go ahead and get started. We may pick up a few more along the way. Um, Barring any, things with the dogs of them having accidents in the house and stuff like that, I should be good to go. I my Unfortunately, my cough, as I said last night during the stream, has seemed to come back with a vengeance, but it kind of picks and chooses its times when it wants to act up. So if I start coughing my head off, y'all just look over me. I've got my Mountain Dew here to try to keep my throat lubricated because right before I started the stream, I was literally coughing my head off. And then I coughed so much that it made my throat hurt. But not that you guys need to know all that. Hey, John. You say, hey, Dana, hey, all. Not a movie, but I recommend reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. That sounds really intriguing. I love to read, so that might be something I want to look into. You say it's a Salem's Lot type of story. And you say it's perfect for an HBO show. Gotcha. So, you guys keep putting stuff in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first movie in my stack. And this is one that might need a little of an explanation of why I chose it as a vampire film. Because you guys may take one look at this and be like, what in the heck? But it is Dr. Sleep, Stephen King's own sequel to The Shining. And so you may be thinking, well, why did Dana consider this one a vampire film? Well, here's why. Because the lady in the hat, I think she's called Rose. They call her Rose the Hat. Her and her, they seem almost like a bunch of gypsies almost in this, but they're some evil little suckers. Because, yeah, psychic vamps. That's exactly right, X-Ray. Because what this band of what looks to be little vagabonds or gypsies, they actually suck the psychic force out of children who have the shining. And as we all remember in The Shining, young Danny Torrance had the shining. So Stephen King pretty much, when he wrote the book Dr. Sleep, he expanded on what happened to Danny and his mom after the shining. And basically, Danny dealt with so much of these people trying to sap his psychic energy for years that when he grew to be a man, he became an alcoholic, sadly, like his father. And so he's kind of a semi recovering alcoholic at the beginning of this film, but he's still dealing with his demons. And by demons, I mean the things that happened at the Overlook Hotel when he was young. And he's also dealing with, as X Ray said, these psychic vamps. And not only are they pretty much, they've toyed with Danny, who goes by Dan now that he's an adult. So they just want to toy with him. They found bigger fish to fry because they found even stronger kids than Danny was. Or, since he's become an adult, he doesn't have the shining as strong as when he was a kid. He still got it, and he still uses it. He actually works in a nursing home, and he is able to help the elderly people pass on peacefully and not be afraid of dying. So he's still got a fair amount of the shining in him. But it's just not nearly as strong as when he was a child. But what these psychic vamps want is they have to feed off these children to have the strong power. And they feed off of them, feed off of them, feed off of them until the children are dead, essentially. So they spend their time kidnapping kids that have the shining and basically sapping all of their psychic energy and killing them in the process. And they are able to live for long periods of time, I guess forever, as long as they were able to find a child to feed off of. So there is a girl who has a really super strong power. She's probably one of the strongest kids that they have been able to locate. So it ultimately becomes Danny's job to protect this girl at all costs. Darky said, Dr. Sleep, yes, psychic vampire for sure. And although they're not the traditional vampires with the sharp fangs and bite people on the neck, they still operate with a vampiric sensibility, I think. And I also think this is an amazing movie, and it was an amazing book as well. I say kudos to Stephen King for being brave enough to make a sequel to one of his most popular books. And, I know Dirk said last night that The Shining was like one of his all-time favorite films. So I really think that Dr. Sleep complements The Shining in a lot of ways. The only thing that was confusing about this movie is the fact that, Stephen King has been really vocal over the years about disavowing Kubrick's version of The Shining. But maybe they had to do this because they were making a movie, and so rather than go back all the way 100% to the source material, they took a little bit from Kubrick's The Shining instead of Stephen King's The Shining. And I think those of you that have watched the movie, you know what I mean. And that was just one small drawback to the movie. Otherwise, this is a nearly perfect movie. It really made me feel the way older films made me feel. This one did not feel like a new film. It didn't feel like a film that was like trying to be hip or stylish or, trying to gain, millions and millions of fans. They were just literally putting this story out there, and they told it in such a way that, from what I could tell, Stephen King was very happy with the results. Um, and I think it was cast very well. Like I said, the atmosphere is excellent. The baddies are excellent. Rose the Hat and her gang. Um, you couldn't ask for more well drawn evil characters. And there's also that danger that young children are put in ultimate danger, which adds an extra fear layer to films like this. Um, so I just really really love this film. Um, and I don't know really that we'll ever see Stephen King do another sequel to one of his books. But I don't think he could have picked a better one, in my eyes, to make a sequel to than The Shining. Because, I always did wonder after I read The Shining, how you sometimes wonder about well drawn characters, well written characters, and you wonder, hey, I wonder what happened to those people within the storyline. What really happened to them? What happened to Wendy? What happened to Danny? Did things turn out okay for them? Um, also, I was a little confused at first about Dick Halloran showing up, because I thought, didn't he die in the in the movie version? And if I'm remembering correctly, and you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Dick turn out to be a ghost, that only Danny could see, or am I just imagining that? Um, Craig, you say, I'm going to watch Doctor Sleep now. Yeah, Craig, I think you would like it, especially if you've seen The Shining. Um, Darky said, I enjoyed Doctor Sleep, but I went in with no expectations, good or bad. Mike Flanagan did it right, finding a good medium between Kubrick and King with respect to both. Yes, I agree completely with that. John, you say, I went thrift store crazy today and got a lot of tapes. One was Vampires 2, the cheap direct-to-video sequel to Carpenter's. Um, John, you say you haven't seen Doctor Sleep yet. I highly, highly recommend it, John. Um, Doug, you say you still feel King wrote Doctor Sleep so he would get the last say on The Shining. And it could very well have been a little bit of that. But again, I don't think he could have picked a better novel of his to make a sequel to. Um, I mean, there are others that I'm sure would have made good sequels, but the characters usually in all of his books, in my opinion, are rich and well written and seem to come off the page as real people. Um, but The Shining just always seemed to have that little extra something in there. I don't know if it was because of like inserting the child abuse angle, the alcoholism angle, all of that stuff in there that made it even more real. Um, so, you had the supernatural stuff with the ghost at the hotel and all of that. But then you had a real family with real problems. Then they're put in this hotel where there's evil running rampant in it. And you see a family pretty much destroyed, by the time the movie's over. So, of course, people were going to want to know, did Danny make it? Did Wendy make it? Like I said before, what happened to them after the events of The Shining? John, you say Mike Flanagan is great. I really recommend Midnight Mass. It's done by him. It's a vampire story. I've heard of that one, John. I actually need to watch that one. Um, let's see. You say they don't say vampire, but it is. Yeah, some of these I'm going to talk about tonight. I don't think they mention the word vampire. Um, but in many ways, that's what these people are. I mean, I think that's what they are in Doctor Sleep. There's going to be some others that I talk about, maybe a couple others where vampires are not mentioned, but it's clearly some kind of vampiric qualities are going on within the film. They're interwoven in the film. Dougie say a lot of people have a lot of hate for Doctor Sleep and never even gave it a fair shake. Yeah, which is really sad because I try my best not to do that. There are some movies that I just, well, I mean, like the Evil Dead remake, I just refuse to watch it again. I watched it once, and that's all I care to watch it, you know. Um, on the other hand, things like that you guys have suggested that I go back and watch, I will eventually get around to rewatching them or watching them in whole. I do apologize. Sammy's barking about something. I don't know why. Probably Steve came in the room because when Steve goes to bed and comes back in the living room, it's like Sammy forgets that he was even here. It's very strange. But I totally forgot what I was talking about. But like you say, I may be one of the few who has never seen The Shining. Do you read novels, Menelect, or do you just primarily stick with the movies? Because I tried to. There were a few like early Stephen King things that I didn't actually get to read the book before the movie. I think The Shining was one of them, where I saw Kubrick's The Shining before I read Stephen King's book. So, in that case, it may have been better because I think it probably allowed me to, as Dirk said, give The Shining a fair shake. I think probably if I had read the book beforehand, I might have hated Kubrick's version of The Shining. Maybe not, but I'm almost concerned that I would have. Like you say, I read novels like Interview with the Vampire, etc., but I'm more into movies now, which that is cool. Craig, you say, people always say the book is better than the movie. Is that true? Because I just really watch the movies. Okay, I think I brought this up before, but I'll bring it up again. Most of the time, for me, the books are always better than the movie. Now, there was one time, and this might be because I watched the movie before I read the book, and that was Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump is another nearly perfect movie for me. Tom Hanks was expertly cast as Forrest Gump. And so then when I read the book by Winston Groom, I'm like, where in the heck is all this coming from? Because Forrest in the book seemed totally different than the way Tom Hanks portrayed him in the movie. He would talk about playing with himself and being a mongoloid and all this stuff, and I'm like, where did the story go of a man of simple mind, but who was able to do great things with his life as well, and make a difference in other people's lives? Where did that story go? Because to me, they seem to be two totally different entities. And for me, that is the only time that has ever happened to me. Durkee say, yeah, but some people refuse to watch something that's different if you did at least watch it at least once. John, you say, I plan to watch it, Dirk. It looks great. Hey, Wes. You say, I'm glad you say you like Forrest Gump. It's the end thing to shit on that movie now by a few hipster dicks. Really? I guess I didn't realize that. But no, I'm not going to shit on that because, for one thing, I'm not hipster. And another thing, I don't see the reason to shit on it. It's a great movie. Um, Dirty said, I prefer Kubrick's vision over King's. I know it's King's story, but to me, Kubrick made it better. And that is, Dirk, I think that is a valid response. And you back it up with why. You don't just say, I just like Kubrick's version better. You've said repeatedly why you think it's better. And I think that is really, really admirable of you, and great that, some people they become fearful of expressing an opinion because, about movies or books or whatever, because some people get so upset over things. So I'm glad to see that you can, like, express your opinion, back it up, and stick with it. So kudos to that. John, you say, a movie I wish would get a Blu-ray is My Best Friend is a Vampire. It's not great, but it's a fun 80s comedy horror. Yeah, I got you there. You got to have those as well. John, you say it's most known for that Gotta Wear Shades song. Yeah. Craig, you say, like, my favorite movie of all time is Jaws. Please don't laugh at me, but people say the book is better. No, we're not going to laugh at you, Craig. I love Jaws. I absolutely love that movie. I can watch that movie anytime. It's been a long while since I read the book. The book fleshes out the characters more. But Spielberg did such a great job with Jaws that I don't think it needed that extra drama that was in the book, that Peter Benchley put in the book, in my opinion. Because if I remember correctly, Benchley had Matt Hooper, the shark expert, from the Oceanographic Institute, if I'm remembering correctly, have an affair with Sheriff Brody's wife, because they were having problems and they were distant from each other, and so she ends up having a fling with Hooper. And there were other little dramatic touches added to the book, which Benchley was entirely entitled to do that. But I think he would probably agree that stuff didn't really need to be put in the movie. The whole thing about the Jaws movie was the shark and the guys out on the boat and how they were dealing with this giant shark, and how they were going to destroy it so that it couldn't kill anybody else. Well, as you say, we are working through M. Night Shyamalan movies right now. What are your thoughts on his films? Well, me personally, Wes, his early stuff is what I like. The Sixth Sense especially. But somewhere along the way, I feel like he just kind of went off the rails. I wasn't a huge fan of Signs. I liked The Village, okay. I know that pissed a lot of people off. That movie did. But, and I was never, please don't hate me. Don't throw things at me. But I was never a fan of Unbreakable either. I never understood it. Steve tried to explain it to me, but I just was never able to grasp that movie and why, and really why M. Night Shyamalan made it. Um, because to me, it seems so disconnected from any of his other movies that he has made. And he has a right to make anything that he wants to make. Um, but after a while, I just kind of tuned out on his movies just because I lost interest in them, frankly. If he had just made The Sixth Sense and not made anything else, I think I would have been fine with that. Um, because The Sixth Sense really was one that um, added something new to the genre at that time. Um, and then it seemed like the more popular he got, the less cohesive his films were. So I don't know if that's actually the answer you were wanting, Wes, but it's pretty much how I feel about his films. Darky say, it's always funny when I hear the book is better. I'm always thinking, for who is it better? LOL. Well, with me, I mean, it's just better for me 9 times out of 10. Just because because I'm and I'm not saying this to offend anybody. I love to read. I have always loved to read. And some people aren't into reading books. They would much rather watch a movie, and that is cool. But I think because I am a reader, um, I tend to gravitate towards the books and attach myself to those books more than I do the movie. I may like the movie. Heck, I may even love the movie. But my love is larger for the book because that was my first connection with that story. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Mel, like you say, books are almost always better than the movies, but authors often hate the movies while failing to understand 500 pages turned into 3 hours requires movie fans want to be entertained by. You say, I like Signs, I like The Village too, but I thought a real monster should have been shown at the end of the movie. What did she say? It's part of a trilogy. LOL. He was ahead of the curve on the superhero movies. Well, see, and that might be part of it, Wes. I have never been a huge superhero fan. Again, don't throw things at me. I like a few of the Marvel movies and stuff, but I'm not a huge fan. I don't have to watch every one. So I get that that's what it was moving towards. But it's just not my thing. Um, I prefer M. Night Shyamalan's horror stuff or suspense stuff or whatever. And I thought some of his films, like Signs, were a little kooky and a little too off kilter for me. Um, you know, uh, Joaquin Phoenix running around with a full tin hat, or aluminum foil hat on. I like alien movies, but that one was a little weird for me. I would prefer something like Alien or Aliens with Sigourney Weaver, stuff like that, you know. But, to each his own. Yeah, I don't think I've seen the goofy comedy movie he made before The Sixth Sense. Um, Craig, you say, I agree. It was kind of far off for what he usually makes, but Unbreakable is a good movie, especially if you're into comics like Marvel and DC, like I am. So it was a good superhero versus bad superhero. Yeah, and I think that's why Steve liked it so well. And he also liked Glass as well. I say to each his own. Wes, you say, see, I don't like superhero movies neither, but I think Unbreakable is easily his best movie. I, on the other hand, would say The Sixth Sense is his best movie. Wes, you say, Lady in the Water started out like it was going to be the best one, but fell apart like a lot of his movies. I don't think I ever actually watched Lady in the Water, so I can't really comment on that one. Mill Lake, you say, I watched Science 30 times, although I dislike Mel Gibson. Darky say, I'm not against books, but I'm just saying when you read something, you have to see it a specific way in your mind, and others will visualize it differently. Gotcha, Dirk. Mill Lake, you say, Unbreakable was enjoyable to me, but when I was young, I collected comic books. Yeah, so did my brother. I don't even know if he still has all of his comic books now, though. Um, so, this version of Doctor Sleep that I have is the 4K, which it looks absolutely amazing. Sounds amazing. Um, and it does have some special features on it. You get From Shining to Sleep, author Stephen King and director and screenwriter Mike Flanagan look back at the original novel and classic film to discuss how they took on the sequel. The making of Doctor Sleep, A New Vision, and Return to the Overlook. So not a whole lot of special features, but the movie is awesome. And if you're able to get this 4K version, like I said, it looks and sounds awesome. And this also includes the director's cut on Blu-ray as well. Oh, Dirk, you brought up one of my all-time favorite movies. Yeah, if I was comparing Stir of Echoes with The Sixth Sense, I would definitely say Stir of Echoes would be my favorite of those two. Um, you say Sixth Sense came out a week before it took all the glory. But Stir of Echoes is an amazing film. I actually would like to talk more in depth at some point about Stir of Echoes, just because I love that movie so much. So, moving on, and like I said, you guys feel free to keep putting stuff in the chat. Um, Wes, you agree Star of Echoes is easily better? Yeah, like I said, I'm glad that Dirk brought that up because that made me think about that movie um, again. And I rewatched it recently, like within the last month or so, maybe. And again, I was hit by the um, the amazing quality this film has and the amazing atmosphere it has. Well, I would imagine a lot of people can't rewatch The Sixth Sense because once you've once you've seen it and once you realize all the twists and turns in it, um, it's hard to go back and watch it. Now, I will wait long periods of time and then I'll say, even though I know all the twists and turns, I want to watch it again. Because there are some people might just call them jump scares, but I think there are some really um, good jump scares and also some more subtle scares. For instance, uh, where Cole sees this young boy, probably about 13 or maybe 14 or something, and it's like he's talking to Cole. He says, "Hey, you want to see my dad's gun collection or whatever?" And when he turns around, you can see the back of his head is blowed off. To me, that is not really a jump scare, but that's a subtle, like, holy crap. Then when Cole gets up and goes into the kitchen in the middle of the night and he thinks it's his mother standing there, and the woman turns around, it's not his mother. And she holds out her hands like this and she says, "Look what you made me do." And she had slit her wrist. And that daggone light went off again. Um, but those are still things that can give me a little goose. Even though I know what the ultimate ending is to ultimately I know what the ending is to the movie. I already know the twist. I just like to go back and see those little scares, some not so subtle, some more subtle. Um, to paint it black. What Lies Beneath? Yes, that is another underrated one from that time frame. I agree with that. You say you don't own Sixth Sense on anything. Um, Dirk, you like What Lies Beneath too. Um, oh, cool. I don't think I got to see it at the theater, Craig. I think the first time I watched it was on DVD. Um, Guys, I hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna go switch out that light so we can at least have an extra little bit of green light to make my green screen look a little better. So let me put this Evil Dead background up. Okay, that's a little bit better. Um, so the next one I want to talk about, and again, you guys feel free to keep putting things in the chat, is the original Fright Night. And I know Craig mentioned before I started, he had put a message in the chat that this was one of his favorites. I think it's one of a lot of people's favorites. This is one I remember when I was pretty young. Well, that didn't last too long, did it? Well, I'm not going to worry about it right now, other than to say that I might go plug these in real quick if y'all can just bear with me and let them charge. Um, that lasted all of 2 seconds. One thing I can tell you guys, it pays to have good lights, but it also pays to have batteries that last longer than mine are lasting. Okay, let's see. Dougie say, just letting everybody know on the Zavvi UK site, you can use code Melissa10 and get 15% off. Cool. I may have to take a look and see if they've got anything that I want. Craigie said, my favorite part was at the end when they showed the mother poisoning her child. I was glad the little girl was able to show them where the tape was. Yeah, that is Um, I'm not sure if they were trying to say this woman had that man Munchausen's by proxy, or she was just a mean ass bitch. So, um, and was jealous of her child somehow, because they said that she was trying to poison the younger daughter as well. So I'm not sure what the case was there. But anyway, Fright Night is one that I remember when I was pretty young, not super super young, but young. And I remember my parents. They were quite young too when this movie came out. I always have had young parents. That's what people tell me. My parents are in their 60s now. They'll be 66 in October, so that's still pretty young. Uh, so anyway, they at that point in time they felt more like getting out and going hanging out with friends and going and doing things. Now, my dad does go to a lot of auctions and sales and different things, but they don't get out like they once did, when me and my brother were kids. But on this particular occasion, they went to someone's house that they knew, another married couple, and they decided that we would watch Fright Night. And of course, at that time, I didn't even, I had no clue what that was. But I found out pretty quick and really enjoyed it, and I think it kind of cemented my love of this film, um, because I just had so much fun with the film, and I just remember it being just like a big party being allowed to watch that movie. Now, my brother, who is 6 years younger than me, of course, they thought that, well, my brother and their son should stay back in the room and play with He-Man figures, or whatever they were playing with. I think it was He-Man. Um, Maybe Wes can recall. Was He-Man, didn't He-Man have Moss Man and Stinkor and all that stuff? I always thought Stinkor smelled like pepper, like black pepper kind of. But anyway, I remember them staying back in Brian's room and playing with He-Man figures. Meanwhile, I got to watch the actual movie. So I can't really find anything wrong with Fright Night either. It has a few comedy elements in it. I think, even though people say that Chris Sarandon is pretty much an asshole when you meet him, I have never met him, so I don't know about that. But he's good in movies, and he's great in this as a vampire. Roddy McDowall is in this. He's awesome as the great vampire killer. Amanda Beers, who a lot of you will also remember from Married with Children, the neighbor Marcy, who Al continually hates during the course of that series. And let's see, we also have William Ragsdale. Who discovers the vampire living next door, and basically nobody believes him until it's pretty much almost too late. Charlie, and Amanda Beers plays his girlfriend in the movie, and Stephen Jeffries in this movie as evil. Is one of the most entertaining characters I can think of in a horror movie. The lines he has, which, we could give Tom Holland a lot of credit for that, because he did write and direct this film. But the way that Stephen Jeffries pulls off said lines is classic. Um, so, like, just like when you're so cool, Brewster, when he's kind of mocking Charlie, and then when Evil gets turned into the vampire, he's still funny, even when he turns into the vampire. Um, yeah, I don't know. I cannot find anything not to like in this movie. Um, Craig, you say, who knows the name of this vampire film that this line is from? You're so cool, Rooster. You say probably just a mean ass bitch talking about that woman. Yes, yeah, the you're so cool, Rooster. Yes, that is definitely from this movie. Um, so this version that I have is the Eureka version. Now, I know there's a 4K coming out soon, which I will definitely get. But the main reason I got this version of Fright Night on Blu ray is because this has the You're So Cool Brewster documentary, the 146-minute version of the 2016 documentary on the making of Fright Night, and it was created exclusively for this release. Um, so I'll read a bit of a plot synopsis for Fright Night in case there are some of you out there that have not seen this movie. He's sweet, sexy, and he likes to get in late. You might think he's the perfect neighbor, but before inviting him in for a nightcap, there's something you should know. Jerry prefers his drinks warm, red, and straight from the jugular. It's Fright Night, a horrific howl starring Chris Sarandon as the seductive vampire and William Ragsdale as the frantic teenager struggling to keep Jerry's deadly fangs out of his neck. Only 17-year-old Charlie Brewster knows Jerry's blood-curdling secret. When Charlie can't get anybody to believe him, he turns to TV horror host Peter Vincent, Roddy McDowall, who used to be the great vampire killer of the movies. Can these mortals save Charlie and his sweetheart, Amy, Amanda Beers, from the wrathful bloodsucker's toothy embrace? If you love being scared, Fright Night will give you the nightmare of your life. Eureka Classics is proud to present this iconic modern horror classic in a new dual format special edition, which I will highly recommend this version until at least the 4K comes out, which I think the 4K is also going to have the documentary on it. X-Ray, you say Fright Night was baller. Stephen Jeffries for life. Yeah, I think William Ragsdale was perfect for this part, for the part he had as Charlie. I think Amanda Beers was perfect. I think Stephen Jeffries was perfect. Roddy McDowall is perfect. I mean, what is not to like about this movie? And it's 1985. It was 85 when this was released. Um, and this film still holds its own, in my opinion, even now. Um, like you say, Fright Night was entertaining for sure. Oh yes, like I said, I cannot find anything to not like about this movie. Um, but I could go on and on about how awesome this movie is. But I think you guys pretty much get the gist of it. And a lot of you, it seems, that have already watched it. So I'm not going to keep gushing over it. But it is one of those very nostalgic vampire films from my youth that when I want that same feeling of nostalgia that I had, or that same feeling that I had when I was a kid, I can go back and watch Fright Night, or I can watch some of these other movies that I'm going to talk about tonight and feel almost the same way that I did back then. back in 1985, for instance, or possibly maybe 86, because I think we watched it on VHS. So let me talk a little bit about the special edition features, and you guys feel free to keep chatting in there, and I am looking at it periodically. So you get a 4K digital restoration, original stereo PCM soundtrack, and 5.1 DTS HD master audio. Um, let's see. You're So Cool, Brewster. Like I said, the 146-minute version of the 2016 documentary. Blu-ray only exclusive extras. 3 new video pieces. What is Fright Night? Tom Holland writing horror, and Roddy McDowall from Apes to Bats. Fear Fest 2 2008 reunion panel featuring Tom Holland, Chris Sarandon, William Ragsdale, Stephen Jeffries, Amanda Beers, Jonathan Stark, and moderated by Rob Galuzzo. Shock Till You Drop presents Choice Cuts with Tom Holland and Ryan Turek. A 3-part video interview on the film. The full electronic press kit featuring rare on-set interviews and behind-the-scenes footage. Stills and memorabilia from Tom Holland's personal collection, and a theatrical trailer. The movie is 106 minutes. Has 235:1 original aspect ratio. And this set contains 1 Blu-ray, Region B. Keep that in mind, of course. And 1 DVD, which is Region 2. So you would need to make sure, if you were thinking about getting this release, that you had the ability to watch it, which would probably entail having a modded player. Craig, you say, another movie I was able to see at the theater, Fright Night. My mom knew how much I love vampire movies, and she took me to see it. I was 14 years old. I will never forget it. Yeah, that is really cool that you were able to do that. I, on the other hand, didn't get the joy of doing that, but I have the joy of and the nostalgia of that night watching it at my mom and dad's friend's house. And that's something I'll carry with me forever. Because, like I said, it was just like a big party where I was getting to watch this really cool ass movie. That at the time I didn't really know how special it was going to be to me. But even at that young age, I figured out pretty quick, yeah, Tom Holland made something special, even though I didn't know who Tom Holland was at that time. I didn't focus so much on the making of the movies back then. I was just purely just watching them for entertainment. So that is Fright Night. The next one I'm going to talk about is another, like, some people may consider this a little bit too hip, too stylish or whatever. But I love it, and I've always loved it from day one of watching it. And that is From Dusk Till Dawn, the Robert Rodriguez film. And there's George Clooney on the front of this. This is actually a steel book that Steve got me. I wanted to say, hold on a minute here. I probably shouldn't really take it out of this, but this is an Alliance release of this. Yeah, it's a pretty cool steelbook package, I feel like. And I really enjoyed getting it. I really enjoyed rewatching it. X-Ray, you said From Dusk Till Dawn was Robert Rodriguez and George Clooney's best movie. Still waiting for a legit sequel to it. Yeah, I mean, I love From Dusk Till Dawn, but I just feel like the other two are just sort of lukewarm. This one was right out of the gate with a bang. And I mean, not only do you have George Clooney, but you also have Salma Hayek. You have Juliette Lewis. Quentin Tarantino is in here in a really super sleazy role. And Harvey Keitel. I mean, how can you go wrong with this? Um, X-Ray, you say From Dusk Till Dawn was the only movie George Clooney was cool in. He is ultra cool in this movie, in my opinion. Um, he's essentially, though, and you see this towards the end of the movie, he's the ultimate badass with a heart. You know what I mean? His brother was crazy and a rapist, pretty much, and stuff like that. Um, I love Quentin Tarantino, but that character was just not likable at all. Um, but George Clooney's character, on the other hand, I thought was extremely likable. He could blow your head off or blow your face off or whatever, but he also he's the guy that you want in your corner when things go awry. When those vampires start coming at them, you want George Clooney there, helping you fight them. You also have Tom Savini in this, playing Sex Machine. And he actually has a little gun that comes out of his pant, like a panel in his pants, like a extra penis or something. It's just like you have Danny Trejo in this movie. This movie is chock full of colorful characters. Cheech Marin, the whole, I don't normally like saying the word pussy. I always think that's a little too vulgar. But that whole, we got hot pussy, cold pussy. He's like, he's talking about, and smelly pussy, and he's just on and on and on, trying to get people to come into the Titty Twister bar. And how can you go wrong with a bar called the Titty Twister? I mean, come on. Um, so, as I've said before, my brother and I weren't restricted a lot on the types of movies that we could see. Actually, I was only told to wait on a couple of movies, and all the history of the movies that I have watched. Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave. Now I realize, and now I know why my parents suggested I wait. But anything else, they pretty much let me watch. Um, but X-Ray, you say, man, Joe Pilato must have been pissed when they made it without him. Did you ever see the promo short they shot with him? It was pretty fun. I'm trying to remember, X-Ray, and I'm not sure if I've seen it or not. Do you know where that would be available to see? Because, I mean, is it on YouTube or anything? Craig, you say, I know Fright Night line for line, word for word. I watch it twice a year. Oh, yeah, I definitely, I'm thinking about, I didn't get a chance to rewatch it before the stream, but I'm definitely wanting to go back and watch it here again soon. And From Dusk Till Dawn, as well as some of these others that I'm going to be talking about, because see, that's what it does. It gets me invigorates my interest for these movies and makes me want to go back and watch them. Which, with me feeling so bad lately, movie watching is a highlight for me. Because sometimes when you don't feel good enough to even get off the couch much, it's soothing to be able to sit there and watch a movie that you enjoy. But for me, From Dusk Till Dawn has it all. It has fiery explosions. It has ultraviolet vampires. I mean, Selma Hayek's vampire in this movie is awesome. And for you guys, her sex appeal is very high, I think. Juliette Lewis is awesome in this. Harvey Keitel's awesome. George Clooney's awesome. Even Tarantino's awesome in this, even though he plays such a really sleazeball character, a really dangerous character. Um, but yeah, again, I think enough people know about From Dusk Till Dawn that they're not I mean, they're not going to need me to do a complete breakdown of this movie. So again, I don't want to bore people by staying too long on one particular film. And it's just after 9, so we're doing pretty good so far. But I just like I said, you guys can throw anything in the chat that you want. Just don't say anything mean because it might make me cry. Um, oh yeah, I get that. Dirk, you say Selma Hayek was hotter than J Lo before J Lo got noticed. X-Ray, you say From Dusk Till Dawn is one of the best horror films of the '90s and one of my favorite Tarantino flicks. I wish he would make a return to horror like that, not Death Proof again. But I'll tell you what, X-Ray, Death Proof has always been Steve and I's one of our all-time favorite movies. So much so that I know I've talked about this, but I'll just bring it up real quickly. That when we were dating, we went to Austin, Texas, and we went to Guero's, and we also went to the Texas Chili Parlor. Um, because those were featured in the Death Proof story. And we found out real quick that that is not where they filmed the interiors. Of course, the interiors were filmed in a studio. But the outside of the buildings um, definitely pretty much look like what was in the film. So, yeah, we had a lot of fun. We went to the Alamo Draft House. Actually, we went to both Alamo Draft Houses, but the one that was near our extended stay hotel is the one that we actually went to see movies at. Now, we went to the one, I believe, over on 6th Street in Austin, where the Mondo Tea Shop was, and got T-shirts and posters and stuff like that. But I would really like to go back at some point. Darky say Death Proof is solid to me. Yeah, me and Steve too. Craigie said, without a doubt, Dusk Till Dawn is a phenomenal vampire movie. I agree. Hey, Uncle Bill. Decided to stop by and see what I was talking about tonight, or did you already know I was talking about vampire films? Have you been lurking? Darky say, but everything hits different for everyone. Exactly, Dirk, exactly. I was going to talk a little bit about the special features on this particular release. There for you Salma Hayek fiends there. Take a gander at that there. No, you just got in here. Okay, cool. So the special features, you get feature commentary with Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, outtakes, featurette, theatrical trailer, TV spots, a music video, and more. And like I said, this was an Alliance release, which I always thought was Canadian, but I don't know. I was thinking Steve told me this was another foreign release and not Canadian, but I could be wrong. So I'll put that back in there. I don't know how many of you guys put your steel books in these hard plastic cases, but they're really good, but something happens with some of these where they just don't want to stay closed, and that's a little irritating, but Uncle Bill, you said, listen, There wasn't anyone hotter than her at that time. Good Lord. Hey, I'm not arguing with you guys. I'm not arguing with you guys. Dougie say, yeah, I would have drank her bathwater back then. Ooh. Okay. So the next one I want to talk about might be another one that's a little, um, I mean, even though it says sci-fi vampire cult classic, and just by me saying that, you might know what movie I'm about to talk about. Which this is a can't even talk. Toby Hooper directed film. Anybody got any guesses yet about what this one is? Exactly right, X-Ray. It is Lifeforce. And this, like I said, it says right on the sticker on the case, it says Toby Hooper approved transfer of the sci-fi vampire cult classic. I remember watching this one when I was a kid as well, but I don't think I really appreciated it as much as I do now, because I think I understand it more now. Exactly, Dirk. Space vampires. X-Ray, you say, Life Force is a weird movie. It's not bad per se. It's just very messy. Watchable, though. Yeah, I find it, that there may be some parts of it that are a little convoluted. But other than that, I think it is definitely an entertaining and interesting watch. This one is also from 1985. And this Blu-ray contains both the theatrical cut and the longer director-approved cut. This is the Scream Factory release that came out a few years ago. The Cannon Group actually put this out. It has Steve Railsback on it. And I always have liked Steve Railsback. But here's the thing about that. Ever since I saw Steve Railsback play Charles Manson in Helter Skelter, I cannot get that out of my head. Every time the man talks, I think, Charles Manson, Charles Manson. It's like, but that's because he played that character so well. If you've not seen Helter Skelter, the original miniseries, or I guess you would call it a miniseries, or a television movie, whatever you want to call it. Let's see. Actually, you said the main draw of the movie were Matilda May's boobies and the special effects. You're probably right on that, although I'm not too interested in Matilda May's boobies. But the special effects are great. Dirk, you say, I like it. It runs a bit too long. Some of the talky scenes get repetitive. I agree. Craig, you say, we have to talk about the original I Spit on Your Grave one day, Dana. Oh, well, I would be totally up for that. I think I have talked about some revenge films or rape revenge films, but I would be more than happy to revisit it at some point. Actually, you say the apocalyptic finale is definitely worth the watch. It was Toby at the height of his directorial powers. Dirk, you say he's great in Turkey Shoot. Yeah, but I tell you what, Dirk, I think I tried to watch some of Turkey Shoot, and I guess maybe I was expecting a different type of movie. I don't really know what I was expecting, but what I got was not what I was expecting it to be. So I may have to sit down and try to watch it again, because I don't think I got through it all. Actually, you say it's like Life Force should be considered a classic, like Aliens or The Thing, but the script held it back. Actually, you say Railsback is great playing crazy rednecks. But he's also good at playing like these sensitive type of characters as well. He was also in the movie Deadly Games, which Wes could tell you about that movie. I think he liked it pretty well. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a plot synopsis for Lifeforce, just in case there's somebody that may be watching this later or somebody that's in here now that may not have seen it. Time Out Film Guide actually said, if you've never seen this mind-reeling schlocko sci-fi spectacular, then hang on to your brains. Great fun. From the director of Poltergeist and the co-writer of Alien comes a thrilling sci-fi adventure of explosive action and pulse-pounding suspense, with mind-blowing special effects by Academy Award winner John Dykstra, who did the 1977 visual effects for Star Wars. Lifeforce is a gripping melange of genres that's so bizarre it's fascinating. Leonard Maltin said that. A mission to investigate Halley's Comet discovers an even stranger phenomenon, an alien spacecraft. Following deadly confrontation, the aliens arrive on Earth, where their seductive leader begins a terrifying campaign to drain the life force of everyone she encounters. Her victims, in turn, continue the cycle, and soon the entire planet is in mortal danger. And when the mission's sole survivor, Steve Railsback, the stuntman, sets out to destroy her, he comes face to face with the most charming and horrifying being he's ever known. Will he be able to destroy the lovely vampiress, or will he become yet another victim of her fatal charm? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, Dirk. He's in Scissors with Sharon Stone, LOL. And you do have a handful of special features in this. You get audio commentary with director Tobe Hooper, which now that Tobe Hooper is no longer with us, his commentaries, as are Wes Craven's and some of the other guys that are no longer with us that have done commentaries, is very poignant. And I still like to listen to them, but there's always that hint of sadness that, yeah, they're no longer with us. All new retrospective with cast and crew, including actor Steve Railsback, director Tobe Hooper, and more. Vintage making of Lifeforce featurette, theatrical trailers, TV spot, and still gallery. And again, I'm trying not to go on too awfully long with each one of these. We have 5 more to cover, and I know everybody is, even though tomorrow is Saturday, I know people need to get some sleep. X-Ray, you say, man, most of our favorite horror directors are gone. Carpenter and Argento are the only ones left. Yeah, pretty much. Romero's gone, Hooper's gone, Craven's gone. It's just really, really sad. John, you say underrated director, in my opinion. Yes, definitely. And I think poor Tobe Hooper took a lot of flack over time. And I feel like the studios held him back and pushed him to the side a lot of times. And he was a great talent, in my opinion. He's the guy that made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for goodness sakes. So I just think that it was really sad that pretty much during his whole career, he was shoved to the side and shoved to the back of the room, and not really allowed to make the films that he wanted to make. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was pretty much made the way he wanted, but once the studios get involved, that's usually the death knell. So, X-Ray, you say we always have Eli Roth and Adam Green. Dirk, you say we'll be streaming on Pop's Movie Dungeon later around 10:30. Ooh, well, I'll need to get done so you can, so you don't feel like, not that you would feel like you were missing anything in mine, but I try not to, as much as I can, not intersect with other people's streams, but it does happen from time to time. Mill Lake, you say Jordan Peele is a director on fire. Jordan Peele is too uneven for me. I liked Get Out, and that was about the one and only thing I liked that he did. I don't like what he's doing with that new Twilight Zone series. I really don't have an interest in seeing Nope, and I probably won't, just because the Us movie just totally turned me off of this guy. I can't really pinpoint exactly why, but the film just seemed to go in so many different directions and never really went anywhere, in my opinion. John, you say he didn't care about being an auteur like some of them. Exactly, John. Middle Lake, you say directors now have the option of writing and directing small budget horror films today they finance personally. Oh, Lordy. Is it really, Dirk? It's number one. John, you say, I hate YouTube chat on phone. If you don't click live chat, it removes comments. It's weird. Yeah, well, actually, if I don't keep this set on live chat, I can't see all of y'all's comments. That I only see like featured ones. I guess people that comment a lot, theirs will show up. But if somebody just comes in and says, two or three things, then theirs won't necessarily show up. So I always like to try to keep this on live chat. That way I can see everything. Middle Lake, you say Nope was amazing. Have you been talking to old Curly Jaws? John, you say Toby was a good old boy. He didn't live in that Hollywood system, and he didn't care about fake and being an artist. He was just a talented dude from Texas. Exactly, John. That is probably one of the best descriptions of Toby Hooper I've ever seen. But anyway, like I said, I'm not going to go too awfully long on any one of these movies. But this is Lifeforce. I do recommend it. It is space vampires. But I think it's a fun little film. Like Dirk said, it is a little long. The longer director-approved cut is 116 minutes, just shy of 2 hours. The other version is 101 minutes. But other than that, and like Dirk said, those extra talky scenes, the scenes that you feel like almost that you gotta fast forward through, and may very well do once you've seen this movie in full and you watch it again later. John, you say, oh yeah, no worries, it's YouTube. I have to remember to click live before typing. So, moving on to the next one is another one that I remember from my youth. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember from your youth. Actually has a lot of big name people in it, but it's never pretentious. It never seems like it's trying to do things in order to gain fans. It was just able to get fans just because it was a really cool movie. See, X-Ray, you say, I could see Lifeforce getting a miniseries remake, but it would probably be woke now. No boobies. Mathilda May will be played by a trans unicorn Eskimo. So, anybody got any ideas what the next movie I'm going to be talking about? This one was in the 80s. I don't want to give you too many clues. The executive producer was Richard Donner. Probably if I give you some of the names of the people that are in the movie. No, Wes, I am not going to buy the Evil Dead remake in 4K. Nope. Once at the theater was all I needed to see that movie ever in my life. Okay, so X-Ray did guess right. His second answer is correct. The Lost Boys. Dirk was also correct with his second choice. Uh, Turkey say damn X-ray, lol. Um, I started to say it was directed by Joel Schumacher, which it was, but I was afraid that that might give it away too soon. Actually, I will tell you that the next one after The Lost Boys is going to be Near Dark. But I honestly, I have yet to find anybody that hates The Lost Boys. Whatever you may think about Corey Feldman, whatever you may think about Corey Haim, this movie is classic all the way. Um, it was put out in 87. It was released in 87. Um, I think Joel Schumacher was the perfect director for this. I think that the whole cast of this movie was expertly cast. I mean, um, you have Corey Feldman, you have Jamie Gertz, you have Corey Haim, Edward Herman, Bernard Hughes, Jason Patrick, Kiefer Sutherland, and Diane Wiest in really big roles in this. The characters, again, don't seem like cardboard cutouts. Diane Wiest's character, Jason Patrick's character, Corey Haim's character, you could almost really believe that they were a family. Bernard Hughes, who plays Diane Wiest's father in the movie, is awesome. And the reveal at the end about the grandfather, and what he really knew about Santa Carla, or Santa Clara rather, um, is just, that is classic too. The lines are classic in this movie. Having, I guess having Corey Haim and Corey Feldman in movies later became kind of a joke. But at this point in time, it was still cool. The two Coreys in a film about vampires. Kiefer Sutherland is great in this. I mean, he is absolutely awesome. I love Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland can play really bad guys, and he can play really good guys as well. There was a movie called 1969. And I'm really big into the 60s and the whole hippie, anti Vietnam War, all of that stuff. And I was really, like, at one time wanting to watch everything I could about that time period. And so, 1969 was definitely a movie I think I rented first, and then ended up buying the DVD later. But it has Kiefer Sutherland in a very sensitive role. But then you see him in Stand By Me, where he's a very bad character. He's also a very bad character in The Lost Boys as well, as one of the vampires. He's also in the movie, I think it was Flashback, with Dennis Hopper. And Kiefer Sutherland plays this straight-laced FBI agent, who's sent to arrest Dennis Hopper's character. It's a really fun comedy movie, pretty much, that deals with a lot of elements from the 1960s as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that too, Wes. That Gramps was in Blossom. So which one did you watch with Sarah West? Did you watch Lost Boys or Near Dark? John, you say, can't wait to see, but I still want you, Lucy, reveal in 4K this fall. Yeah. Uh, X-Ray, you say, I was in a shitty Facebook car group years back, and there were a few contrarian types who compared Lost Boys to Twilight of the 80s. Ugh, that makes me cringe and shiver. Ugh. They must have been smoking crack before typing that. Who knows? Yes, John, old Gramps knew all along. I love that line at the end when he says, one thing I could never stomach about Santa Clara is all the damn vampires. And here's some other classic lines. When Corey Haim as Sam finds out that his brother, played by Jason Patrick, is a half vampire. That line where he says, my own brother, goddamn shit-sucking vampire. You just wait till Mom gets home. I mean, there are very few movies that have that many classic lines in it and that many classic characters. The Frog Brothers, one who is played by Corey Feldman, who keep trying to give Corey Haim comics that talk about vampires, and he's like, I don't like horror comics, and they say, and I remember Corey Feldman says, you'll like this one, Mr. Phoenix, because Corey Haim tells him that's where he's from. Let's see. Dirk, you say, Evil Dead remake is one of the best remakes ever made. That's not saying much because there aren't many, but the cutting out the humor made it great and took nothing away from the original. Yeah, I get that. But I don't think, just my opinion only, I don't think the original Evil Dead had that much humor in it. Now, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, yeah, each one of those ramped up the humor. But I see what you're saying there, Dirk. X-Ray, you say, as a kid, I always wanted to visit the hippie town in the movie. Seemed like the best place ever. Wes, you say, I like it too, Dirk. I think Dana needs to revisit it. Dana doesn't want to revisit it. I'm sorry. You guys can revisit it for me. How about that? Dirk, you say, I like Lost Boys, but Near Dark was another one that got glossed over because they came out at the same time. That bar and diner scene is the shit. Exactly. I get you. And we're going to talk about, we can talk about that too when we get to that one. Johnny said Kiefer Sutherland was a villain in that movie Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. He's the voice of the villain. I know which movie you're talking about, but I don't think I ever watched that one, John. John, you say Near Dark is awesome. Agreed, Dirk. It's a pretty movie too. Yes, John, Nanook was a good boy. X-Ray, you say, we all know Dana's favorite scene, the part when the greased up, roided up saxophone player shows up and starts playing I Still Believe. Well, that doesn't turn me on or anything, X-Ray, but that is a really cool scene and a scene that a lot of people talk about. Johnny said, my damn dog would lick the vampires and want to play. Oh, my Reggie would too. I mean, now Sammy might try to tear them apart, but Reggie would definitely want to play with them. X-Ray, you say, Joel Schumacher gets shit for Batman and Robin, but he made some legit banger films. Oh, exactly. Exactly. I agree with you, X-Ray. Now, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't like to refer to things as hip because to me personally, that has the connotation or connection with hipster, and I just don't like that. But um, the New York Times, a reviewer for the New York Times, said a hip comic twist on a classic vampire story, um, which I would agree that it does have a comic twist. But me personally, I like to refrain from the word hip. Um, John, you say, best scene to me is the walk this way campfire killing. Pretty brutal. Oh, yes. And that almost seemed to come out of nowhere, John. It was like we're watching. And then all of a sudden it's like, check this out, Michael. And they just like go full on batshit crazy when killing those people. These aren't normal vampire killings. They annihilate these people. So yes, um, very brutal scene, but it works. It really works. So you have these little moments of levity with the comedy, which helps to balance out some of the more violent scenes. Um, so again, I think everybody pretty much agrees in here that The Lost Boys is a great vampire film and a great horror film in general. And the one we're going to talk about next, Near Dark, is as well. Um, but again, like I said, it's almost 10 o'clock, and I know Dirk's going to be on Pop's Movie Dungeon. And I don't want to, I really don't like I said, to intersect with other people's streams if I can help it at all possible. So I'm going to talk real quickly about the special features on this. This is the Warner Brothers release of The Lost Boys. You get commentary by director Joel Schumacher, additional scenes, The Lost Boys, a retrospective documentary, the return of Sam and the Frog Brothers, the two Coreys, and Jameson Newlander, multi-angle video commentary. I really, really like that video commentary. Although now it's sort of sad because Corey Haim's no longer with us. And Corey Feldman has had his troubles over the past few years. So it's just kind of sad in a way. Vamping out the undead creations of Greg Canham. Inside the Vampire's Cave, 4 featurettes. The Vampire's Photo Gallery. Lou Graham, Lost in the Shadows. Music video. A World of Vampires interactive map. And a theatrical trailer. Dirk saying, no, Dave, no worries about that. Okay, Dirk. But that is The Lost Boys. Highly recommend this one. When this one comes out in 4K, I will definitely be getting it. Hopefully, it will have Dolby Atmos sound as well, which should be awesome. Actually, he said the Getting Ready montage was dope. All these 80s nostalgia TV shows have been cribbing off this and Goonies forever. Exactly. Actually, he said, I'm glad they never made a sequel back then. Never bothered with the new movies or TV show. As far as I'm concerned, it ended with that classic. I agree. I agree with you, X-Ray. So, you asked for it. I complied. The next one is Near Dark. Well, actually, I didn't have to comply because I always have loved this film. And actually, today I was rewatching it in preparation for this because it has been a little bit since I've seen it. And it washed over me how cool this movie and how badass this movie is. Another movie with perfect perfect actors in the perfect parts for them. You have Jenny Wright, you have Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, and let me tell you, Bill Paxton is dead on perfect in this movie. Bill Paxton, sadly, another one that's no longer with us, which is really sad. He was a really talented actor. Tim Thomerson is also in this. And something that I had forgotten until I was rewatching it today was the fact that Tangerine Dream did the music. And some of you might be saying, who the fuck is Tangerine Dream? Well, Tangerine Dream did music for Firestarter. They also did music for Risky Business. Those are two right off that I know of. And I think those are excellent soundtracks. I love Tangerine Dream. I wish I could get a hold of some albums, like actual LPs of theirs. I may look into that and see if I can locate some of those. Durkee say, I'd be glad if they would start doing one-offs more. I'm hearing the Black Phone might be getting a sequel. The shit is annoying as fuck. Yeah, it's like, but anytime anything makes any cash, you know what I'm saying, they want to automatically make sequels. And, honestly, everything doesn't have to be Friday the 13th. Everything doesn't have to be Nightmare on Elm Street. You don't have to sequel it to death. Just let some of these be one-offs. So I totally agree with that. Well, I like sequels too, if they are good. But I have to agree with Dirk, because now so many of the sequels, they want to make sequels to everything. They want to make sequels to the sequels, to the sequels. They just keep going and going and going. And it just gets old after a while. And I agree that it would be refreshing to see at least a handful of movies that were just one-offs. They don't necessarily always have to have a sequel. Although, what Stu says in Scream, these days, baby, there's got to be a sequel. So, like you say, studios risk millions of dollars on every movie. Oh, well, there's no doubt that they do. But they're also making a ton of ton of money as well. So, little plot synopsis for Near Dark, in case there's anybody in here or anybody that watches this later that has not seen Near Dark. Country boy Caleb Colton, played by Adrian Pasdar, whittles away the quiet rural nights hunting local girls, but when he falls prey to the mysterious and beautiful May, played by Jenny Wright, Caleb unknowingly becomes the hunted. May is no ordinary girl. Caleb soon learns she is part of an outlaw band of vampires, and their love is about to lure him into a terrifying world of bloodlust, mayhem, and absolute horror. Will Caleb pay the ultimate price for love and eternal life? Or will he find a way to defeat the evil growing inside him each night near dark? Another young actor at the time that is in this, that is part of the band of vampires, is Joshua Miller, who, I don't know how many of you guys remember Joshua Miller from things like the Wonder Years. Like, when he got a little bit older, he was in the Wonder Years. It was probably the middle of the road shows. Like, it wasn't the much later shows of Wonder Years, and it wasn't the real early shows. It was somewhere in the middle. But honestly, I don't remember what happened to Joshua Miller, or even if Joshua Miller is still alive. Maybe some of you guys know, but I think he was really good in this film as well, as I guess the youngest of this gang of vampires. And another thing I really appreciated about this was a high-quality vampire film that was directed by a woman. Catherine Bigelow directed this. And that wasn't a I don't want to say it wasn't a popular thing, but that was not a common thing at the time that Near Dark came out. Not that I can recall. So that was also refreshing. The movie is a little bit longer than um, your average film at 99 minutes, but I don't feel like it's overly long. The movie moves quickly, the plot just keeps rolling. And like it was said earlier, the bar scene is one of the standout scenes, and a bunch of scenes that are all great. But this is one that really sticks with you, and you're like, wow, you know. But again, I can't praise Bill Paxton enough for his role in this film. I think he even, you guys may disagree with me, but I think he even outshines Lance Henriksen in this movie, um, because he is just so out there and huge and gregarious and overly obnoxious and super crazy dangerous. Just all these things balled up into one big tornado of a character. Um, and if I had never been witness to his talent in this movie and I had only seen him in other movies, I'm not so sure that I would have realized that he had that in him to do that. I mean, he's played bad characters before, and he's played good characters. Um, but I never saw him take it to this level. And it was great. I loved it. Um, I love the character of May. I think Jenny Wright plays her. I mean, she slides right into that role like a hand into a glove. Um, Adrian Pasdar as the um young guy that, like it says in the plot, he spends his nights hunting local girls, and I don't think he's really. I get the feeling that Caleb's not really interested in long term relationships. He's just wanting a quick roll in the hay and time to move on to the next one until he meets May. And May has some kind of hold on him. And then after she bites him, therefore turning him into a vampire like herself, their connection is even deeper. So, yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite vampire films. I wouldn't be talking about it on the stream if it wasn't. Like I said, it'd been a little bit since I had watched it, and everything came back again. It was just like a wave washing over me. Wow, this movie is still great. And I could probably, watch it again in a week and it would still be great. Um, Dougie say Paxton plays that role, but there are parts where he reminds me of Chet from Weird Science. LOL, right? He's still great. Yeah, Bill Paxton will forever be great for me. It's just sad that at such a young age, really, um, he's no longer here to make more movies. So we'll just have to be content with the movies that we have that he's in. So a little bit about the special features on this one. This is a Lionsgate Studio Canal release. You get audio commentary with director Catherine Bigelow, Living in Darkness, making of documentary, deleted scene with commentary by Catherine Bigelow, theatrical trailers, and a 1080p high definition widescreen presentation, and English 5.1 DTS HD master audio. And that is Near Dark. Highly, highly recommend. I Can't say anything bad about this movie. We got 3 more to go, guys. It's just shy of 10 o'clock now. I think we can cover the last 3 in 30 minutes or less. Frailty, yes, Dirk. I actually talked about Frailty in one of my more recent live streams, I believe. Yeah, and I got a chance to rewatch it, and again realized how powerful that film is. Okay, moving on to the next one in my group of vampire films. This one might be another one that you think is kind of a stretch. But, and I have talked about this kind of recently, but that's Rabid. And you're probably like, wait, Dana, isn't that more like a rabies type thing? Well, yeah, but here's why I think it's kind of, it's similar to some of these other vampire films, in that Marilyn Chambers' character is feeding off the blood of other people and animals. Yeah, then she's infecting them, whereas in a normal vampire film, once they get infected, they're going to turn into a vampire. These people that get infected by Marilyn Chambers' character of Rose turn into rabid human beings, as you can see right there. But I think the whole thing about the little penis-like thing that comes out from under our arm and is able to enter people's bodies and drain the blood from them, to me, that is very vampiric. So although the whole movie might not be considered a vampire, I think it has vampire elements, at least with the withdrawing of blood from the victims. Dirk, you say you be going to be pissed if Dracula 3D ain't on here. I'm sorry, don't have Dracula 3D, so I think he's going to have to be pissed. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Rabid? Do you think it could be considered at least partially a vampire film, or do you think I'm way off base on this? Because I'm sure some of you, at least some of you, have seen Rabid. But y'all go ahead and answer that. But I'm going to first give you a little plot synopsis, and then I'll talk about the special features real quick, and then we'll get to our last 2 movies. You don't think Rabid is a vampire film per se? Well, I'm like that too. I don't think it's fully a vampire movie. I just think that it has vampiric qualities, at least with the parts with Rose having the little penis appendage that comes out from under her arm and draining the blood from her victims. That's where I think it has that vampiric quality. Dirky say, I've never looked at it as one, but I can see what you're saying. So I guess I'm not just totally off base there. So y'all keep putting in the chat. I'm going to give a little plot synopsis. With Rabid, acclaimed director David Cronenberg delivers a highly entertaining horror show that hasn't lost an iota of shock value. And that's a quote from DVD Savant. After undergoing radical emergency surgery, Rose, Marilyn Chambers, develops an insatiable desire for blood. See, there's another thing, insatiable desire for blood. Vampires have an insatiable desire for blood. She searches out victims to satisfy her incurable craving, infecting them with an unknown disease, which in turn swiftly drives them insane and makes them equally bloodthirsty. Follow the lovely but deadly Rose through her terrifying ordeal as victim by victim, the spreading circle of casualties grows until no one can escape their grisly fate of becoming rabid. And so the special features on this Screen Factory release, you get a new 2K scan from the negative, audio commentary with writer and director David Cronenberg, audio commentary with William Beard, author of The Artist as Monster, the cinema of David Cronenberg, archival interview with David Cronenberg, interview with executive producer Ivan Reitman, interview with co-producer Don Carmody, From Stereo to Video, a video essay by Calum Vanstall, author of They Came From Within, A History of Canadian Horror Cinema, which I'd love to get my hands on. Charting Cronenberg's career from his experimental beginnings through to Videodrome, a theatrical trailer, radio spots, and more. And that is Rabid. Okay, so now, guys, we're down to the last two. And I promised you we were going to talk about this one. This is another Stephen King related item. And I bet you know which one I'm talking about. It is Salem's Lot. And this is actually, I used to have a DVD that was just the theatrical version. This is the full mini-series version, which, of course, I was too young to watch when it originally came on television. I was all of maybe 3 years old when it came out. So, let's see. John, you say, sorry, I've been in and out getting dinner. Oh, no, that is perfectly fine. Boy, though, John, it's a little late for you to be getting dinner, buddy. I'd be passed out if I didn't have my dinner by now. Dirk, are you talking about the release of Rabid or Salem's Lot? I'm thinking you're probably talking about Rabid. See. Great movie, you say, John. Dirk, you say Rabid. And Dirk, you say best vampire film ever made. John, you say, I got a hard copy of Salem's Lot in yesterday, the old hard copy book. Oh, that's awesome, John. Was it you that was saying that you went to some thrift shops? Because I was thinking maybe you picked that up at the thrift shop. Okay. This is another film that I can find nothing wrong with this film. It is pretty much a nearly perfect film. I won't go as far as Dirk, which is okay that Dirk says it's the best vampire film ever made. But I will say that it is one of the best vampire films ever made. Another nearly perfect film. It's expertly cast. We've got David Soul, James Mason, Lance Kerwin, Bonnie Bedelia, Lou Ayres. It's produced by Richard Kobritz, who I believe also worked with John Carpenter a lot. Paul Monash did the screenplay, and of course, it's based on a novel by Stephen King, and it's directed by Tobe Hooper. So we have a very Nosferatu-esque vampire in this, Mr. Barlow. We also have James Mason as the vampire's keeper, who also is an antiques dealer. We have David Soul, who returns to the little town of Salem's Lot after a long absence. He's a writer in the movie. He strikes up a romance with Bonnie Bedelia's character, Susan Norton, whose father is a doctor in Salem's Lot. You talk about atmosphere. This movie has it in spades. very atmospheric. Kinder Trauma actually said this was one of the last truly great gothic vampire films. And it does have a very gothic feel to it. Um, the scares, although they, and I think this is good that this, sometimes you watch movies and it seems like they had to put a scare in there every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes or whatever. This one doesn't have that necessarily, but when they come, they are spot on and they work. One of my favorite creepy scenes in this, and I know I've talked about this before, but I wanted to bring it up again, is when Mike, the cemetery caretaker, gets infected or gets bit by Barlow and becomes a vampire himself. When he dies and comes back as the vampire and shows up at the teacher's house, that has to be one of the greatest scenes ever in a horror movie. It still gives me chills when I watch it. So Jason Burke, the teacher, does invite Mike previously into his house when Mike is sick after being bitten by the vampire. Then after Mike dies, because he has been given permission to come into Jason Burke's house, he returns. So Jason Burke hears something in his house. He goes upstairs and Mike is in a rocking chair in the bedroom and he's rocking slowly back and forth. And then he looks up at Jason Burke and opens his eyes and they are glowing. And he does the whole thing with like that. And he's just doing his head like this. And he's like, look at me, teacher. And it's just that whole scene just literally gives me cold chills every time I watch it. But it is so masterful. A perfect scene on any level. Let's see. Dirk, you say it's made for TV, but with Hooper, that's crazy to even mention. Yeah. The window scene too. Yes, definitely, Dirk. You say you gotta go. Talk to y'all later. Okay, Dirk. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us for a little while. So I could just go on and on praising this movie, but I won't because, like I said, I don't want to bore y'all with going on about too many details of each one of these. We have one more to cover. But if you have never seen Salem's Lot, and I highly recommend that you try to get a hold of the miniseries version. That way you get the full movie and probably the way that Tobe Hooper wanted everybody to see it. I mean, the theatrical version is good, but you can still tell there's something missing with it. It still has a lot of heart. It still works. But I much prefer the longer version. It is 183 minutes. Keep in mind that this was a TV miniseries originally. And there are a few special features on this Warner Brothers release. We get feature-length audio commentary by director Tobe Hooper and an international theatrical trailer. And even though those are the two special features, that commentary with Tobe Hooper makes it all worth it. So, that is Salem's Lot. Highly recommend this one. If you've never seen this one, run, don't walk, and find a copy of this so you can watch it. Or, you might be able to find it on YouTube or Tubi or one of those outlets as well. Okay, so the last one I'm going to talk about. If I tell you one of these people on here, you're going to know exactly what this movie is. But So I won't talk about them, but probably when I mention one of these others, you guys will get it. But Chris Makepieces on this, Dee Dee Pfeiffer, Robert Russler, and Getty Watanabe, who was in a lot of 80s comedy movies. So, anybody got any guesses what this last film I'm going to talk about is? I just want to see. You guys probably will be able to get it after I read off the list of actors that is in this. No takers on that? Did I put you all to sleep already? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you know what it is. It is Vamp, which also has Grace Jones in it. It is a very bizarre type of vampire. So give you a little plot synopsis in case there's somebody watching, somebody in here that has not seen Vamp. Two fraternity pledges head to a seedy part of town to find some entertainment for their college friends, but are faced with bloodthirsty vampires. Keith, Chris Makepeace, who was also in Meatballs, and AJ, Robert Russler, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, want to make the right impression at college, and so they devise a plan to get them into the best frat house on campus. They head to the After Dark Club, where they want to find a stripper for a party their friends won't forget. Instead, they find themselves among vampires led by Kinky Katrina, who is played by Grace Jones. Almost certainly an influence on From Dusk Till Dawn. Vamp is superbly designed by many of Grace Jones' own award-winning collaborators and features stunning effects by four-time Oscar winner Greg Cannom, The Lost Boys, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, delivering laughs and scares in equal measure with the added bonus of vampy sex appeal. Vamp is a comedy horror romp with real bite. And I think that Robert Russler really shines in this movie because after he becomes a vampire himself, he tries to fight it to the extent that, hey, I still want to hang out with you guys. Yeah, I'm a vampire, but I still want to hang out like we always did. But I think this movie is fun. Not as atmospheric as some of the other movies that I've talked about tonight, but just so fun. I mean, it's got its scary, creepy moments, but it also has a lot of heart and a lot of comedy in it, which is a great mixture with a film of this type. X-Ray said, never seen Vamp, but Grace Jones has a great presence. Grace Jones definitely does, and you've got to see some of these scenes and the makeup that Grace Jones has on. It will blow your socks off. It's creepy and cool at the same time. So this one is 94 minutes, not too awfully long. This release that I have is the Arrow release there. You can see the little arrow down, the little A down there in the corner. Again, I'm not going to go over and over about this movie, but I do highly recommend it. Johnny say Vamp is all about bromance with Robert Russler and the main guy, even the ending. You say it's a fun movie. I highly agree with you there, John. So the special edition contents on this, you get high definition digital transfer. It looks awesome, by the way, guys. Original mono audio, which is a little sad, but you know the transfer more than makes up for it. One of those nights, The Making of Vamp, a brand new documentary featuring interviews with director Richard Wink. Director of photography Elliot Davis, stars Robert Russler, Dee Dee Pfeiffer, and Getty Watanabe. Behind the scenes rehearsals, blooper reel, image gallery, Dracula Bites the Big Apple from 1979, Richard Wink's celebrated short film, trailers, TV spots, reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by the Twins of Evil. And here's the new artwork. And I'll also let you see the original artwork there, which is also cool. John, you say it's kind of a shame his bud Robert Downey got so big, but Robert never got bigger after the 80s. It happens, I suppose. Yeah, because I thought Robert Ressler, and I still think, he's a great actor. Um, there was one kind of current movie, and I can't remember the title of it, that Robert Ressler was in that I didn't care for, but it wasn't because of Robert Ressler's performance. It just wasn't a movie that I cared for. And I believe it was a horror movie. It was probably something Steve was watching. But on that note, I have reached the end, and I just went a little over 10 o'clock. I have reached the end of my group of favorite vampire movies. This again may be another one of those where I do a part two. Whenever I take the notion, you know how I am. And again, I realized that I've pretty much done a live stream every day this week. I may, because Steve's not doing his Saturday shows, I may try to do something tomorrow evening. Do not hold me to that, but if I do, I will try to advertise early enough that you guys know what's going on. It'll probably be the 6 o'clock time slot. Um, yeah, horror soundtracks, that might be something good that I could do. I kind of sort of did that a while back where I was talking about my horror records that I have, like things that I've gotten from Waxwork Records and Mondo and stuff like that. But yeah, that would give me an excuse to pull out my horror records again, because there are some new ones that I've got in that I did not have when I did that last live stream. So that's an awesome idea, X-Ray. But I think I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out with me for a little over a couple hours. It's been fun, as always. And I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to have me a little snack to eat and get some rest, because I have a pretty full day tomorrow. I've got to go to the doctor and get my little doctor's note to bring into to my, or send to my employer. And also I'm hoping maybe they can give me some medication for pain and for coughs, even though they probably won't give me any more antibiotic, I would imagine. Later, John. So I will see everyone on the flip side. Y'all have a good night.